everyone, welcome back to WCB Jazz Vinyl. Got a kind of a Noble Records style video for you because it's first thing in the morning and I'm going on a vinyl dig. This is before work. I'm trying to squeeze it in just because of when the seller was available. Reached out to her on Facebook Marketplace, and after being ghosted for multiple days, I basically just left my cell phone number there in the Facebook Marketplace chat. And I said, hey, reach out to me basically when you're serious. And got a response last night. She said, come by in the morning. And I was like, all right. So yeah, we're going to see how this plays out. I almost got hit, Jesus. So the impetus for this whole thing was I was on Facebook Marketplace. Been kind of paying attention to equipment lately, just kind of see what's out there. I don't know. Not that I need anything. And somebody posted a copy of John Coltrane's Giant Steps on Atlantic. They had a photo of that black Deep Groove label, and the price on it was $50. So, of course, I was going to send a message. I was like a day late, or like 22 hours or something after it had been listed. And so I figured, surely somebody else has got their, their hands in this one, and I'm not going to be able to get to it. But that was the impetus. I saw that one. I looked at a couple of other things that she had. She also had a Love Supreme, but no picture of the label. She had a copy of Crescent. Those were the three, John Coltrane's Crescent. Those are the three that I saw, and the reason why I reached out. And I was like, hey, I'm interested in Giant Steps. I might be interested in some of these others as well. And that was it. Next step was going to be to try to figure out how to, make my way over there, obviously. But yeah, we're about to find out what she has. It's only 10 miles away from where I live, and it is a commercial business. It's just that it's a commercial business that kind of looks like it used to be, sort of like a square building, maybe that was part of an old service center or gas station or something. But now it is it's a glass company, so it's in kind of an industrial area. So yeah, it's raining. I have a bunch of cash on me. What could go wrong? Also, it just occurred to me that this video is going to be very helpful for the detectives and investigators who are looking into the mysterious circumstances around my disappearance, and they'll know a little bit of context about what I was up to and how stupid a move this was. All right, you guys, sorry for the resolution, but this is what I got. Just loaded it in the car. Obviously, there is more than what was originally advertised, and gonna go with, so check this out here. Focus, mono. There's Giant Steps. We got Crescent here. There's some good stuff here. All right, y'all, it was hot in there. I am sweating. I shouldn't have worn the shirt that I was planning to wear to work today. But, it was first thing in the morning, and so I was on my way to work, and I was going to try to, make this happen. There was no AC in there. So, basically, this place is a glass shop, and this woman, probably in her 70s, maybe mid-70s, operates it, and I guess her husband found these records in a storage locker. I guess it's like a side hustle. He buys storage lockers, which, is a thing. And he came across these jazz records. And so there were probably maybe 150 records, maybe 200 records, something like that. And it was a little bit of a cross-section of what I'd call sort of 70s, funk, soul, jazz kind of adjacent stuff. There's some Terry Pendergrass in there, some Quincy Jones, some Grover Washington, stuff like that. There's a bunch of stuff on Kudu, so Esther Phillips. I didn't, what was clear to me is that she had only listed 5 records on Facebook Marketplace, and all of her estimates were much lower than probably what the values were. So my strategy going in was I kind of wanted to take anything that I could get. If I thought that I might enjoy it, or if I thought that I could sort of get stuff for a couple bucks here or there. So basically, I got a bunch of stuff. I'm going to show it to you here in this video. But just first reaction, I'm sweating. That place was dusty as heck, no air conditioning, but super nice person who was operating the shop, and seemed happy that some of these records were going to a good home. All right, so obviously this could have turned out to be a complete bust when I first hit record, but it definitely wasn't. So, you got a sense of at least the play-by-play, so I'm not going to rehash that. What you're interested in at this point, of course, is what did I get? So let's take a look. Firstly, I haven't cleaned these. I haven't even taken them out of their sleeves a second time until now, because obviously the first time was when I first went through them at this glass shop. So yeah, haven't tested any of them. This is literally this morning, and I'm filming this evening, and really just got back from work and kind of have a sense to fully go through it really now. So there's a total of 21 records here. I'm going to start with the best ones, probably the ones that you saw in that video when I was loading them in the car, but at least get a little bit closer look on exactly what these are. So try to go through them relatively rapid fire, but maybe spend a little bit more time on the first ones. So the one on top, right, in the video that you saw was John Coltrane's Dakar. So this was originally put out on, well, Prestige, but funnily enough, this music was first put out in their 16 RPM series in the mid 50s. They ended up putting it out later in 1963 or 2, something like that, as you see here. Anyway, this is a stereo copy. This is the obviously it's the purple cover version. There is a black and white sort of with blue and orange accent version of it as well, and maybe even a third one, I forget. But one thing to note about this, and it didn't change my desire to get it, especially considering I didn't really pay much for many of these. The interesting thing here is that this is the black and silver stereo Prestige label, not Deep Groove, because it wouldn't have been at that time period. But this is recycled vinyl, so it does have that kind of texture to it. But listen, Dakar, this is one of these. This is one of these records, though, that you can it's just really difficult to find without it being recycled vinyl, unless you want to go to that 16 RPM version. All right, next one up. Funnily enough, they have 2 copies of this one. The first one that I saw was an OJC. And so I thought that maybe this one would be as well, but it turns out no. So this is Miles Davis and Milt Jackson Quintet Sextet, right? Originally put out on Prestige. The original cover is slightly different. This is the second cover version, which is more, sort of yellow monochrome on it. This does not have a this does not have an inner sleeve, as most of these didn't. But what you can see here is, apart from the dust, what you should be able to see here is that this is the Deep Groove New Jersey label, which is going to have the etched RVG on it, and actually it's in phenomenal condition. When I first grabbed this, I looked at it, kind of briefly, and it was dark in this little shop, so I didn't really get a sense. But now that I'm looking at it, it really does look clean. Only sort of surface stuff, I think, on this one. All right, so the next one that everybody's going to be interested in, because, well, I was very interested in it, is John Coltrane's A Love Supreme. So jacket is mostly clean, as you can see. There's a little bit of I don't know, dirt and stuff in the inside of the jacket. But the real story here is that this is a mono, right? So everybody wants a mono, Love Supreme, and the condition of this is really, really nice. Don't get me wrong, there's a couple of sort of faint hairlines, nothing that's feelable and nothing that's very long. Obviously this is going to have the Van Gelder stamp. Here, let me show you the label. So a couple of things to note about this. One, it looks like I'm showing you side 2, but one is that it has a product of ABC Paramount Records at the bottom, which is correct for this record in terms of it being, a first pressing. Now the one sort of caveat here is, if you see the catalog number around about here, I think is where I'm pointing, it says A77B. So some people believe, and probably rightly so, that the true first pressing does not have the hyphen B or the hyphen A indicating the side. Why would it need to when you have side 2 in this case right underneath it? So there are versions of this that don't have that additional hyphen A, hyphen B on the end of it. And purists will say, hey, that's the true first pressing. That's what the promos looked like. It is technically an earlier design, but let's be real, they kind of changed over this same year anyway. So is it that big of a deal? To me, no, not that big of a deal. And it's actually been a little while since I've had an original mono pressing of this. I did have a white label promo that I ended up selling at one point. It was in immaculate shape, and somebody just made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So anyway, happy to get a mono of this back. All right, so let's move on to the record that was the reason why I even reached out to the seller in the first place. It really was the first thing that I ever saw, right? So that was this copy of Giant Steps. So as I referenced, I think in the video, I knew that this had the black label already, no inner sleeve again, but I knew this had the black label. Black deep groove label at that, because there actually is a version of this that doesn't have the deep groove, but it's still the black label. I would argue that both of them are first pressings, and probably the only difference is just which plant was pressing them. But as far as condition, this one also does have a couple of light hairlines on it, but nothing that is nothing that seems that deep or feelable. Obviously, I'm going to have to clean this. And yeah, I mean, this is, let's be real, between A Love Supreme and Giant Steps, these two are probably the star of the whole, the whole buy. And, I think I had this in, actually, I'll post as a reminder, the original Facebook Marketplace post. This, obviously is what enticed me in, but it also $50 price point. So I didn't negotiate with her on the prices that she originally had on Facebook Marketplace for these titles. What I did is I paid her exactly what she asked for on those. And then for all the other stuff that I got, which we're going to get to, I kind of just did like a, like $5 per kind of thing just to grab them all. And it ended up working out well, I think, for both of us. So, all right, so let's move on to Crescent. So this is the copy of Crescent. What you'll also note about this, and same as as A Love Supreme, is that this is the mono version of Crescent. And yeah, let's take a quick look again at. Gosh, none of these have inner sleeves. All right, so here, in fact, this is a good opportunity for you to see the difference between the catalog numbers. So it says A-66. It doesn't say A-66-A, because this is the earlier version of the label. Van Gelder stamps those still. This one is probably in, well, maybe it's even in slightly better shape than some of these others. I'm not really seeing hairlines. I'm just seeing a lot of dirt that is going to need to be cleaned up. So, as soon as I'm done filming this, I'm gonna put one of these on, or two of these on. All right, so next one up is this is probably the last one that was shown in that sort of brief flip through video, and these probably are the highlights. So there's a couple of other highlights. So I'll be going through the next ones after this in a little bit more rapid fire. But this is Monk's Dream. So originally put out on Columbia. I believe in order for this, actually, this one's kind of a funny one, because I think a lot of people consider the 2i Columbia label to be first. However, if you look like a little bit deeper, there actually is a 6i, I think. I'm almost positive there's a 6i of this. But for some reason, it's sticking in my head that that maybe it doesn't have to be the 6i for it to be original. I don't know. I don't know if that's right or not. Maybe I'll put a comment below. So this one, funnily enough, here's the thing with Columbia, you can always check the matrix numbers to indicate whether it's a first pressing or not. And in some ways that like almost trumps the design of the label. So this is 1J, and what does that say? 1J matrix numbers, which would indicate a first pressing. So it could be that they started with the 6i but continued the first pressing with the 2i labels. Just spitballing here. This thing is immaculate though. Like this doesn't even really have that much dust on it. Hopefully that's coming across that it actually is clean. I think it is. Maybe there is a little bit of dust. But anyway, that was a stellar find. And listen, like I've got a copy of some of these, but you know, it's still some of these many of these I actually don't have. But for some of these that I've already shown you, yes, I already have copies, but it's still fun, right? To either get a version that I didn't have, or to get a nicer version of a record, something like that, or maybe some of these become, you know, sort of trade fodder. So let me kind of go through the next ones a little bit more rapid fire, and I'll show you what they are. The funny thing is, like, there was no, at the same time, there was no AC in this place. There was also, I didn't have internet reception, which is just so common. Like, why is it that every single dig I go on, and probably everybody goes on, there's like no internet reception? Because, like, I know a lot about these records, but for the 1970s, call it period, some stuff I just haven't heard. Like if I don't own the record and I haven't heard it, like I don't really know if it's worth picking up. Some of this stuff, like the artists are recognizable, but sometimes the music can be a little syrupy depending on the album, and it's like not great. So the funny thing is that I still haven't had the opportunity to look up any of these to see, you know, like preview them or determine if there's value to them. That's kind of why I took this like, you know, $5 per approach with, I think, the bulk of the rest of these. I was just kind of like, hey, I'll take these. And there were certainly ones that I left behind by like, you know, George Benson and you know, Crusaders and stuff like that. Anyway, enough talk. So next one is Hank Crawford's Wildflower. This is in shrink, so hopefully one of these angles you'll be able to see what it is. But this seemed interesting to me. It's on Kudu Records, which was Creed Taylor's label, I think after CTI. It's got some great people on it. It was recorded by Rudy Van Gelder. So I thought, and I've never heard it. So I thought it would be a fun one to pick up. Next one up. This one I knew for obvious reasons, I think, that it was a reissue, but still thought it was worthwhile. So this is Sonny Rollins' Way Out West on Contemporary. I do have an original of this. This is a probably 70s reissue. I'm gonna have to look it up. It doesn't say OJC on it. What it does have is the blue text on the back, which I know sometimes is an indicator, and it is just that kind of standard kind of yellow contemporary label, but it says Fantasy Incorporated at the bottom, and again, it doesn't say OJC. So I don't know. Maybe there was a version of these that that OJC did, and they just didn't, you know, label it OJC. But in some ways, this almost feels like it's more of like a late 70s kind of reissue, but just in really, really nice shape. All right, next one, Houston Person. This is Stolen Sweets. So the reason why I picked this up is because it's Houston Person. Now, I know that some of his stuff for Muse, and this is on Muse, some of his stuff for Muse is not really very worthwhile, at least in my opinion. It's possible that this falls into that category, but has Sonny Phillips on organ, Jimmy Ponder on guitar. I don't know. And like the track length of some of these, like, and I was just kind of, every record that I looked at, I was looking for reasons to either take or like leave behind, right? The track length of the pieces here, they're quite a bit longer. And I don't know that they are necessarily like charting hits at the time that he just decided to do, because they didn't like jump out at me in terms of being like super popular songs that he was just going to play like a throwaway version of. So it's possible that this is a good one, but we'll find out. Next one, Jazz Impressions of Black Orpheus by the Vince Guaraldi Trio. Now listen, I know that it is not difficult to find this record. You can find it all over the place. Obviously, this is an amazing album. This is also obviously a very early reissue because it has printed rather than a sticker featuring Cast Your Fate to the Wind on the front. It's not a color vinyl version, so that wasn't the reason why I picked it up. The reason why I picked it up is because it's a stereo and it's the Deep Groove blue label. So quite early, and hopefully this thing will clean up. It has a few more marks than some of these other things, but again, I knew that I was getting this title pretty cheap, and I just love this record. I mean, I'm one of those people who got the one step. So next one, actually more Monk. So this one is It's Monk's Time. So similar era to the one that I showed you earlier. This is going to be a 2i label as well. And let's take a look because I couldn't see the matrix numbers in there. So interestingly, this is actually a second pressing, and why I knew that is because one of the sides has 1C as the ending matrix number, but the other side has a 2B, indicating that, I think at least most people believe that as soon as the twos hit, you're talking about the next set of plates or whatever, and so it should be considered a second pressing. But any way you look at it, great one. Charles Rouse is on that one. So I grabbed this, and I don't know exactly why. Maybe when I look it up, it'll become more apparent to me. But this is Branford Marsalis, and the title is Renaissance. So again, still in shrink, so apologize for the glare. So I don't know much about this one. I recognize that Tony Williams is the drummer on this. Buster Williams is on one of the pieces here, as is Herbie Hancock. Obviously, everyone knows Branford Marsalis, I think. I don't personally own any of his stuff. And he was putting out more music, I think, in the 80s. This is from 1986. But I don't know, something about it just kind of looked interesting to me. I don't think I'd seen this cover before, and I thought that I would pick it up and check it out. So I showed you what did I show you earlier? Was that a Hank Crawford kudu? I think it was. This is a Grover Washington kudu. Now I know that Grover Washington played a lot of, sort of syrupy kind of music. I'm hoping that there's something in here for me to enjoy, but we'll see. Really impressive lineup on this one, though. This is All the King's Horses by Grover Washington Jr. Recorded at the Van Gelder Studios. That was a big part of why I picked it up. I haven't heard this one, but in the lineup you've got Bob James, Ron Carter, Billy Cobham, Bernard Purdie, Pepper Adams. There's a lot of folks though. There's huge string group here. So I'll give it a go and we'll see if it's interesting. I've certainly seen this before. I've just never listened to it. All right, so I did find some more Miles. This is Miles Davis 4 and More. So this is a live one. This is from his time with let's see, it's Herbie Hancock, George Coleman, Ron Carter, and Tony Williams. And I think, this is a 2i, and I didn't check the matrix numbers of this one either. I'll just, while I have it here, I'll do a quick check and find out. So 1A on one side, which is a good sign, and the other side is 1A. So it is a first pressing of that one. All right, next one up. There's a reason why I grabbed each of these probably. So this is Quincy Jones. This is a Smackwater Jack on A&M Records. So I don't know much about this. What I do know is that this is in great shape. I know that it has kind of the textured front, which is on these originals. And let's be real. I looked at the back, and there's a version of Cast Your Fate to the Wind. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Freddie Hubbard plays on this. Hubert Laws does. Milt Jackson, Jim Hall. He uses different groups though throughout. And one of the things that jumped out at me though is that George Claiborne was one of the recording engineers at his Sound Ideas studio. And you all who follow my channel know that I talked to George and have a video with him coming up in another week or so that I think people are going to get excited about. But yeah, so anyway, I thought it would be cool to pick that one up. All right, this next one I didn't know anything about, nothing about, still don't, haven't looked it up. I just thought, hey, this one kind of looks cool. This is also on A&M. So this is produced by Herb Alpert. I'm reading the back as I do this because I literally have no idea. Who's on this? Bernard Purdie is on this. I didn't even tell you the name of it. So it's Leda Mabulu, and it's called There's Music in the Air. So yeah, I don't know what to say about this. I don't know why I felt compelled to pick it up. I'm just looking right now to see if there's anything else. Oh, Bernie Grunman. That was one of the reasons. So Bernie Grunman is the engineer on this, and I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. This is when he was doing new music rather than, kind of the reissue stuff. So I thought, I don't know. I thought maybe it would sound good, and maybe it's great music, and I have no idea. Never had seen it before. So I got some more Miles here. So I got My Funny Valentine, Miles Davis in concert. I believe that this is a 2i as well. You're probably already bored of me checking matrix numbers, but 1B on one side and 1F on the other side. But yeah, you can, and yes, I know I'm handling it with my fingers, but remember I'm cleaning. I'm gonna have to clean all of these. All right, so that's that one. This one was an obvious reissue, but I knew that I could get it for a couple of bucks, and so I grabbed it anyway. This is Walkin', Miles Davis. This happens to be an OJC, but it's in really, really nice shape. Do I need it? No. I'll listen to it, and then maybe I'll sell it or something. I'm not sure, but just felt like I couldn't leave it. So another one that I couldn't leave, even though I know that it's not original. And funnily enough, I'm going to grab the tone poet of this because they're putting it out, or maybe they just did. Miles Davis, Birth of the Cool. So this is a reissue from the 1970s. Obviously, a completely redesigned cover, and it's not a great cover, which is kind of why this isn't, really like call it a keeper copy for me. But I will listen to it absolutely. Here you can kind of see the Dimensions in Jazz Capital label, but I'll be interested to listen to this version, and then maybe I'll compare it with the Tone Poet. More Miles. This one is Decoy. So I think everybody knows Decoy, but this happens to be one of those Miles albums that I've never owned. I just felt like it was too late in his career, and I probably wouldn't be interested in it. But I am willing to have my mind changed. So I'll find out if it's good. And let me kind of say I have listened to some of this before, and it didn't really jump out at me. But again, for a couple bucks, the opportunity to pick up a pretty clean copy of this, thought I might as well. And the last one, I think this is number 21, if you guys have been counting. So this is Azimuth, and it is called Tudo Bem. So I know about Azimuth because of their early stuff. This is not their early stuff. I mean, maybe it's all early if it's the 80s. But yeah, I didn't know anything about this, but I knew Azimuth. Turns out this is probably not one of their better albums or more interesting ones. But I'm willing to give it a go and see if it's something that I enjoy. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll find out. So anytime you have these kind of collection things, everybody's curious about prices, right? So I know that I told you earlier that I paid what she asked for on some of the titles that she had put out on Facebook, and she ended up doing a good job of picking out the ones that were the most valuable, right? So she had Crescent on Facebook for $100. She had Giant Steps for $50. She had A Love Supreme for $40. And then what was the other one? Was there another one that she had? Maybe there wasn't. In any event, what I did is I paid her, her asking price for each of them, and then the rest of these I just did at $5 a piece. And yeah, some of these are probably worth about $5, or maybe even some of them less. But it was just kind of an easy way to say, hey, here's 20 records. Like, let's just figure out a way to make this work as soon as possible. And she seemed happy with the arrangement, and obviously I'm happy to take these off her hands. So yeah, that's how that ended up working out. Who would have known, right? That just from messaging a Facebook Marketplace seller and having a little bit difficult time kind of connecting and scheduling and even getting responses for a few days, that it would turn out like this. I had low expectations. Thought maybe I'd show up and just get maybe the Giant Steps, or maybe somebody else would have arrived before I did, or maybe I'd get the Giant Steps and it would be in terrible shape. But it turns out I got a bunch of music that I'm excited about, some stuff I've never heard before either. So anyway, kind of a fun way to spend a early Tuesday morning. So I guess that's it for now. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll see you next time.